home again to the state entrance where members of the royal household await to help their majesties alight. And the quadrangle will fill up with the other carriages too, members of the royal family, as they come back home. And shortly the King and Queen will go out into the garden, where they will receive a salute and 3 cheers from the armed forces who took part in that long parade, who entered the palace from that right-hand gate there, the garden gate. Meanwhile, the first and second division of the Sovereign's escort there on the left, with their standard lowered in salute to members of the royal family in the carriages coming home. So now the bands and the soldiers will quickly readjust in order to be in position not only to salute the King and wish him 3 cheers, but also to quickly dismount the streetliners from the far end of the Mall and as quick as possible bring all those troops off the Mall so that the police can bring the public down to the palace for the balcony appearance at 2:30. Meanwhile, the King being helped out of the carriage with Queen Camilla. And it's not far for the King and Queen Camilla to go through the state entrance and out to the garden through the bowroom on the other side, where the armed forces are waiting to give salute. The crown jeweller there taking the sceptre with the cross out as the King dismounts and alights from the carriage. So the Household Division, Guardsmen, following the corps of drums. The rain's pouring down out there, slightly dampening the enthusiasm of the crowd. But there you can see in the distance the half companies are already coming out of their position as streetliners and preparing to march away. And in fact, the departure from London by 7,000 troops is as brilliant as the arrival. Seeing the King's bodyguards going in there, the Honourable Corps of Gentlemen-at-Arms with their swan's feathers, and the flag bearers of the Commonwealth countries, is the household division carrying their state colours and regimental colours, King's colours, into the palace for this really tremendous 3 cheers for the King and a salute.
Rhythmically, the drums beat, the State Royal Standard catching the breeze above the palace, and the crowd applauding once again. A huge spontaneous round of applause in praise of the 4,000 members of the armed forces who've taken part in that parade. A proud moment certainly for them. But what now for the King? He'll soon join those members of the military in the gardens here at Buckingham Palace. But we watched him in that service looking deeply emotional, certainly feeling the responsibility now on his shoulders. Well, Patrick Harrison, the King's former press secretary, joins me now. And you watch too. The King deep in thought. This means so much to him.
It really does. It was a very poignant and moving service, I thought. And yes, you could see it etched on his face how deeply he felt this. Music, of course, that he'd paid great attention to, and many of his favourite composers in there, new pieces and old, adding to the overall emotion. But at the heart, a religious ceremony, and one which, as a spiritual man, he took very seriously indeed.
So how would he be feeling during that, do you think? Because parts of his life, even his father's life as a Prince of Greece, were reflected there.
Yes.
You know, being Prince of Wales for so long, we had all of these elements of his life brought in, don't you think, during that service?
Absolutely, it was beautifully put together as a service, and it rooted in tradition with many of the old elements, but also some new parts as well, reflecting the King's own particular interests as well. So it was a wonderful mixture of old and new, and obviously we had female bishops being involved for the first time. We had a Hindu Prime Minister reading a lesson, and we had the other Christian faiths also involved in the ceremony as well. So as someone who has taken interfaith dialogue very seriously, but is a keen defender of the Christian faith as well, I thought that mixture, that marriage together, worked very well indeed.
The King's Troop Royal Horse Artillery moving past now. Really emotional, King Charles there in the Abbey. Presumably many in the congregation also felt the deep emotion that we saw there today, Kay.
Joanna Lumley is here, as is. You can still drink your tea with Stephen Barlow, her husband, enjoying a cup of tea.
A cup of tea.
For the first time since
early this morning, because we had to leave the house.
We didn't have coffee this morning.
We didn't have coffee either. We had a little glass of water.
Because you were in the Abbey a long time.
We were in the Abbey a long time. Didn't want to get caught short. But honestly, Kay, it was just an extraordinary feeling. Because first of all, it was a bit like a cocktail party, because you seem to know everybody who's coming in. You go, oh my God, ooh, like this. You see, and so all that's going on. And the music's playing, and it's adorable, and we're looking around. Then gradually it begins closing in, and it becomes slightly more formal, and then suddenly it's as if we stepped over the threshold into a great medieval kind of ceremony, something so extraordinary and uplifting and exact and very religious. It was extraordinary.
It was a bit of a free-for-all, though, to start with, Stephen, wasn't it, when you got in there?
It was first come, first served for the seat.
I would have thought you'd have had seating that's got your name on it, but no, not at all.
Not at all. So we were going, anybody, and somebody going, we've got a seat here. So we did manage to sit together, but it was lovely.
What did you think of the music, of course, absolutely up your street?
It's stunning. 12 newly commissioned pieces, all of different types, and some very formal, some very celebratory. But honestly, 2 orchestras in there, massed brass, several choirs.
Yes.
The effect was absolutely overwhelming.
And the soloists were beautiful, pretty singing, and Bryn Taff.
Rodney Williams and Bryn Taff.
It was wonderful.
I mean, honestly, it was an overwhelming experience, not only musical, because of course it was all contextual. So all the music was for the occasion. utter bliss. Very, very British.
Yes, indeed. Lord Webber had written a piece of music.
Yes, oh, it
Yes,
was stunning.
absolutely.
Was it?
It was absolutely beautiful. And the King had apparently said he wanted something you could go out humming. And I think that people will when they can get hold of it again. They might have to hear it one more time.
We're waiting for the King to take the salute in the backyard. I was asking you if you were going for lunch, and you said, no, you're going to go home and have some champagne.
Yes, we did. Slightly frivolous sounding, but it's really to celebrate this extraordinary day and our immense luck being here. But I just want to say to people at home that they may well have seen more of the ceremony than we did, because although we were there and taking it all in, and we were in the great Abbey church, you couldn't see as much of what was going on. There were screens where we saw what was actually going on, whether the King was being crowned or whatever. But I think at home you might have got much, much better viewing on Sky, so well done.
Did you record it? Are you going to watch it when you get home?
I absolutely want to. I mean, it's one of those experiences that you want to take away as much as you can, but perhaps when we see it again, it'll go deeper and deeper, and it will sink in.
Yes.
Just how extraordinarily lucky we were to be there. Amazing.
I was sharing with our viewers, but for those that are joining us obviously all the time, tell us how you know the royal couple.
I can't imagine how it first started, but I think I knew, funnily enough, I knew them separately to begin with. Mrs. Parker Bowles, as she was then, through her dear friend Gilly Cooper,
Yeah.
who was a great writer in whose sitcom I'd been, and so we'd become friends. And I remember meeting her at a lunch there long ago when their children were quite young, at Gilly's. And the present king, the king rather than the Prince of Wales, I knew through charitable things and so on. And so you just get to know these extraordinarily kind and ordinary, extraordinary people. That's what they are, really, because they're just like us, but in a completely different setting.
Amazing. And I hear when you go to visit, they take the car away, fill it full of petrol, and clean the car for when you're leaving at the end of your stay.
That was at Sandringham.
What a lovely story! What a lovely story!
Oh my God! I mean, we hoped we'd send it off looking quite clean, but it came back absolutely shimmering.
What a great story. What's your favourite memory of the event?
To be quite honest, when the whole service opened with "I Was Glad," written by Parry.
Okay, I'm going to have to get you to hold that thought because the King is about to come out to take the salute. And so we will monitor that, and we'll have another chat a bit later on if that's okay. Anna?
Well, what a scene then in the gardens of Buckingham Palace. The King will be moving through the palace, we know, to head out into the garden. Those troops have been massing there. Meanwhile, the streetliners are starting to pull away from the Mall and the area around the Queen Victoria Memorial, getting a round of applause as well from the crowds here. And Alistair, really, what a moment for them, saluting the King now and paying tribute to him and Camilla.
This is a moment of profound loyalty for the armed forces to declare to the newly anointed and crowned king their determination to serve. The Garrison Sergeant Major there, Mr. Stokes, who's planned all of this, will have given his signal now to the palace, who are watching. And there you see the ranks of the senior officers of the armed forces at the front there, followed by the Household Division, the Royal Navy, the senior service of the armed forces, and then the regiments, corps and other units of the British Army, followed by the Royal Air Force, and then at the back the Commonwealth representatives of the realms and other countries in the Commonwealth, and the bands from the three armed forces at the rear. Everything is ready. What we will see is these massed sailors, soldiers and aviators giving a royal salute to the King, the head of the armed forces, followed by 3 cheers.
His Majesty's Armed Forces! Royal Salute! Present Arms! The parade will remove headdress. Remove headdress. Turn. 3 cheers for His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Queen. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. The parade will replace headdress. Replace headdress. Turn. Rose. Quick. March.
Three cheers and a royal salute for the King. And interestingly, in the front of the imperial state crown that he wears is a red ruby, a basil that was worn by King Henry V at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. And it's an extraordinary thought that here the King has received the loyalty of his armed forces as he returns into the palace, and probably the chance to have a bit of a rest before the balcony appearance and flight past at 2:30. Meanwhile, the pipes are playing King Charles III.
So a final roll there for the young pages carrying His Majesty's robe of estate back into the palace. And certainly when we asked them, what will you be doing afterwards? The answer came back, I think we'll all collapse. Exhausting that must have been, certainly for the King, who's 74, and the Queen, as we now call her, who is 75 years old. And lots of photographs is what will happen now for them. A rolling buffet. The King famously does not eat lunch, despite those around him being desperately hungry, we're often told. But they will go inside Buckingham Palace now and begin taking those photographs, which will be a long process, but an extraordinary day for them. An exhausting day. You saw the emotion of that day etched on the face of the King. 70 years waiting for this moment. 70 years of an apprenticeship to take forward what he saw from his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, that life of duty, the life of service, the message in that coronation service that we saw today.
Well, we've been chatting to Joanna and her husband Stephen. Catch up with them again in a few minutes' time, but also want to bring in Max Woozie. He's a friend of the programme, the boy in the tent, as he's perhaps better known to some. Fundraise for the North Devon Hospice. Here he is with his dad. Hello to you both. How was it, Max?
Hello.
How was it, Max?
How was it? Oh, sorry. There's so much noise, I can't really hear as much. No, it was brilliant, thank you.
Yeah? Best bits?
Yeah, no, it's been a brilliant day out. We both loved it, and it's going to be a day we'll always remember.
Okay, Dad, what about you? What was it like when you got the invitation?
Getting the invitation was amazing. It was his invitation. I'm here as a +1. But the best bit for me in there was sharing it with him, with my son, for his work. But when we did the Oath of Allegiance, it's about 37 years since I made that Oath of Allegiance as a very young soldier 37 years ago. So to do it again at the coronation of our new king was just so emotional.
Amazing. How's it going with the work, Max? So are you still sleeping in the tent, or are you done now?
No, so after 3 years, so March 29th, I decided to come back inside, sadly. So now I am sleeping in the same house as him.
But next is?
So yeah, next hopefully will be I'll be getting a chance to pitch my tent and camp for the night around every Premiership rugby club and try and raise money for their local hospice.
And Dad, just before I let you go, because it's really noisy for you there as it is for us here, what memory will you take home with you, apart from how proud you are, obviously, of your boy, and you know, he's a household name now, how cool is that? But also being in the Abbey to see a king and a queen crowned.
It was just so, there were so many times I could have burst into tears for the sheer emotion of it. I thought the whole service was fantastic, music was fantastic. Saying the oath and then singing the national anthem at the end was just, those will never leave me. And again, but with my boy, which was the best bit.
It's so lovely of you to take the time to join us. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, as we see the police service made up of not just the Metropolitan Police, of course, but police officers from right around the country, slowly guiding the crowds down the Mall, down to Buckingham Palace, where we will see the King and Queen along with other members of the royal family on the balcony very shortly, ahead of a 60 aircraft 6-minute fly past. Bring that to you live here on Sky News. Before that though, Peaches Golding, Her Majesty's Lord Lieutenant of the County and City of Bristol, is with us. Hi, it's so noisy, isn't it?
But the bells are just wonderful.
I love bells.
Yes.
I love the peal of bells. What was it like inside?
Do you know, it was electric. You could feel the weight of the service on the King. It's solemn, albeit joyful. And you could see, you know, when the crown went on his head, as well as when the crown went on Her Majesty's head. Oh, didn't they just come to life? Weren't they just fabulous?
And what was the atmosphere like inside?
It was very amazing. Because at first, I mean, we had to arrive quite early.
Yes.
So we had an opportunity to meet people that were sitting beside us, people who had received particular honours, or maybe they were peers, or all types of people. And that really encouraged us a lot.
Yes.
And then when the service started, the music came. The music was just so beautiful. You know, 5 pieces in the introduction were written specifically for this service. and they were wonderful. We had ancient and old music. We had very modern music. We had music representing the four nations, music representing the Commonwealth, voices of the world. That was fabulous, because if you knew some of the music from different countries, you could actually hear it being played and interpreted. It was really wonderful.
Absolutely. You are very lucky to be inside. These people heading up the Mall as we speak have been in the rain. It's been absolutely chucking it down.
Oh, has it really?
You've been in there, but nevertheless, it's not dampened their spirits. They're heading up to Buckingham Palace to see the King on the balcony. I believe the Queen, actually, when she was crowned, did that 6 times. The last time was at midnight. One wonders how many times the King, now a septuagenarian, might have the strength to do that. I mean, it was a challenge.
He's a very strong man. You realize that most mornings he gets up and he goes on a quick march, really, really fast. A few people can keep up with him, actually, when he goes on his morning walks. He's a very, very fit man.
Okay, we will let you go and warm up and have a nice cup of tea. It's good to talk
Thank you.
to
It's lovely to see you.
Thank you so much
asking
for
me.
joining us. Thank you very much indeed. One wonders how people were filling the time, Anna, while they were waiting for the King and Queen to arrive. Some of them spending many hours inside the Abbey. Apparently, the Queen is a big fan of doing Wordle every morning. I wonder if she had a 5-letter word beginning in Q, she might get it.
Kay, absolutely. Even I got that one. Thank you very much indeed. Just an update, in fact, on the flypast, the coronation flypast. This from the Ministry of Defence. They are saying that due to unsuitable weather conditions, that the coronation flypast will now be formed of helicopters and the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Arrows. The flypast will last for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So before, it was made up of more than 60 aircraft and was due to last 6 minutes. So if you were hoping to see, for example, a Lancaster from the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, 2 Spitfire from the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, and 2 Hurricane as well, also from data from the Battle of Britain, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. There will still be plenty to see. So an adjusted fly past because of the weather, 2 minutes 30 seconds, and it will be formed of helicopters and the Royal Air Force aerobatic team, the Red Arrows, who are always, as we know, marvellous to watch. Look at them out, they're coming down. They have been waiting a long time for this. They are waving, their flags are waving from all over the world, it looks like, does it not? A moment they move forward, because it is nearly time for the balcony. Who's going to be out there? This is our first chance to get a glimpse of what the shape of the royal family is in the reign of King Charles III. The balcony has been ready for some time, as we know, and we also know that right behind those windows is a building site. If they come out having tripped and dusty, then we know why. They are removing Indian rubber from the electrics. It's a massive 10-year project at great expense, and it's moved to the front facade of Buckingham Palace, and behind there is not a very habitable area. That's what we've been told by the palace. Well, let me bring in now our royal correspondent, Laura Bundock, Patrick Harrison, who was press secretary to the King for 15 years, and Colonel Dame Kelly Holmes, Olympic gold medalist, obviously, and honorary colonel of the Royal Armoured Corps Training Regiment. Very good to have you all. First of all, Laura, what a day. So many parts to it. What would you pick out, though, as your highlight for now?
I think looking at the King and the Queen as they walked into the Abbey, you could see the burden of the day, but the size of the moment, couldn't you? On both of their faces, particularly, I think, Camilla, and sat through that service, you could see it lift, couldn't you, as they went through this carefully choreographed ceremony, step by step, each bit of regalia. You could feel that pressure that had been sat on their shoulders for all these months was lifting. And then the moment when they left the Abbey, got into the uncomfortable but the very splendid Gold State coach, you could see that this was a moment, and they were owning that moment, were they? But you could, I think, particularly when we saw the Prince of Wales do homage, I think that was the moment for me where I saw the real emotion in the King's face, his own son there, as he bent down and kissed him on the face particularly.
And there was certainly a smile, was there not, from Prince William? Not many smiles apart from that. And there was one point when he was holding the 2 sceptres, the sceptre with cross and the sceptre with dove, and King Charles just shut his eyes And as you say, you know, the sense of the moment today. Camilla, a smile later on. She certainly smiled at her children who were sat in the front row in Westminster Abbey. And Patrick Harrison, we know that he's a sensitive man. You know, he's thought long and hard about what he wants the monarchy to be. He has been, as I put it earlier, an apprentice for so many years. What does he want now, do you think? Because he's been anointed, he wears the crown, he's allowed to wear the crown for the first time. So what now for him?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because people say that he's been waiting for this moment all his life, and that's true. But he's also been Prince of Wales for 50 years, giving fantastic service to this country in that role, as has the Queen in her previous role as the Duchess of Cornwall. So he wants an institution, a monarchy that has value, that serves, that helps to make not only this country but the other realms and Commonwealth nations, and dare I even say the world, a better place. And everything that motivates him is to bring people together, as this day is doing, and unify and unite and try and provide that constitutional glue, if you like, which is so unique to this country and a day like today, and to continue to have value on into the future.
Yes, he once said, did he not, that he thought it would be criminally negligent if he didn't take action in the communities that he visited, that he wants to see change and he wants to, you know, commit himself to change. But Colonel, I have to say, it's this that you've really enjoyed, is it not? Absolutely loving it, you have.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so overwhelmed. I mean, I think the coronation is a historic milestone because it's a union of the Commonwealth. The Union and the Commonwealth are joined in celebration, of course, and the King now is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So again, we've got Royal Navy, Royal Marines, we've got the Royal Air Force and the British Army, and he's takes great pride, as the Queen did, in serving as chief commander. So, you know, when I see this is what we are all about. You know what I mean? Everybody takes great pride in seeing the ceremony, don't they? You know, the work that goes into the preparation. Let's not forget, we've got 7,000 military involved over the weekend, 4,000 in that procession. You know, they work extremely hard to bring this together, and don't they look fantastic? It's great pride.
And what many people will have forgotten about you is that actually you joined the army first, didn't you? In fact, I say first, you've just told me you were a nursing assistant before that. So you know what life of service is, and it's still very important to your soul, isn't it?
Absolutely. So you pledge allegiance to the crown. So of course now all the armed forces have pledged allegiance to our King, and it sticks with you forever. So I joined when I was 17, nearly 18. I was in for nearly 10 years, and then I was appointed Honorary Colonel with the Royal Army Corps Training Regiment, as you said, in 2017. So for me, it's like in my DNA to still be involved, and to, you know, the hairs go up on my arms as soon as I see those positions. It's very, very special.
It's been inclement weather, and yet that will not have detracted from the pride that we've seen. All these people, they're still in the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. Yeah. Try to explain how those people who've been involved in that will be feeling as we watch the crowds begin to fill the mall and
that we are united. We are part of the